Welcome in, everybody. This is your self-care staffing for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. I am Lou Pascal. I'm the school social worker in the Manchester City Schools in Manchester, Tennessee. Today, I want to talk about listening to podcasts as a self-care practice. I'm a big podcast fan. When I talk about podcasts as self-care, I'm not necessarily talking about podcasts only with the topic of self-care. However, if that is what you select that you would like to hear is a podcast about self-care, then I think that would be a wonderful thing to work into your self-care practice. So I want to share with you some podcasts that I have enjoyed or do enjoy, and I also want to give you some tips about how to find podcasts. So let's just go ahead and jump in with some podcasts that I've enjoyed. One of the podcasts is called the 1600 Sessions. That is a podcast that is done by the White House Historical Association. I enjoy history, and it's all about the history of the White House. Another one is On Being with Krista Tippett. She does conversations with a wide variety of people. Some of them are spiritual leaders. She has two versions. She'll put out an edited conversation and then she'll put out an uncut version. And I like to hear every word that is said, so I listen to the uncut recording. Oprah has a podcast of her Super Soul Sunday conversations, and I know I've given you guys a lot of recommendations about Oprah, and you may not be an Oprah fan, but the fact is she's done a lot about living your best life, as we say, and self-care, and so a lot of those recommendations are connected with Oprah. But again, take what you like, leave the rest. If you're not an Oprah fan, you don't have to fool with any of that. It's fine. Another podcast is called Where Should We Begin with Esther Perel. She is a psychologist and she does a podcast. She has several podcasts, I think, but one of the ones is Where Should We Begin, and it's a lot about relationships. And so the format is sort of a counseling session with a couple. It's anonymous. You don't know who the couple is, but I find it very interesting. There is some yard work going on. You may be hearing some of that. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but we're going to persevere. A few other podcasts that were interesting to me. One is called Bagman. One is called S-Town. One is called Bundyville. Those are all very interesting. The podcast Serial, I think they've had 3 seasons. And Serial is made by some of the same people that make This American Life, which This American Life is one of the best well-known podcasts that there is. If you are familiar at all with podcasts, then This American Life comes up on nearly every podcast list that you can find. It's very well known. Another podcast that I have enjoyed is called Slow Burn. They've had a couple of seasons. One of their seasons that I just listened to was all about Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. So if you are a hip hop, rap person, fan, then you might check out the Slow Burn season on Tupac and Biggie. And a couple more. There was a podcast called Presidential that was made by the Washington Post, and every episode was about one of the presidents. I am very interested in history, presidential history, so I listened to all those. I found those very interesting. The last one I'm going to give you is called Embedded. Embedded has done a lot of different seasons also. They are currently doing podcasts specifically on different aspects of the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's been a lot of information there, and I've listened to several of those episodes. So You can probably find a podcast on anything that interests you. I'm just going to give you a few genres of podcasts. There is true crime, there is science, music, all kinds of podcasts about books, your profession. There are definitely podcasts about social work and school social work, sports, there are parenting podcasts. Your company that you work for may have a podcast. There are certainly podcasts about politics. I like to knit. There are podcasts about knitting. If you can think of it, there are business podcasts, motivational podcasts. If you can think of a topic, I would guess that you can find a podcast about that topic. There are podcasts that are just storytelling. So many podcasts about different topics. How can you find podcasts? Here are some ways that I do it. There are Facebook groups just about podcasts. Here are a couple. One is called Podcast Brunch Club. So you can join that Facebook group and you'll see a lot of different things about podcasts. The other one is the New York Times Podcast Club. They have a Facebook group that talks about podcasts. There are also Twitter accounts to talk about podcasts. Here are a few. Good Pods is a Twitter account. Listen Notes, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a second. Listen Notes has several different accounts on Twitter that talk about different kinds of podcasts. So Listen Notes. And then the last one I have for you is Podacy Podcasts. So you can follow those on Twitter, find different podcasts to listen to. So here is the self-care check-in question. It's actually not a question today, it's a challenge. Self-care challenge. Think of a topic that interests you. Think of a topic that intrigues you. And think about something that you would like to know, have more knowledge, that you would like to learn more about this topic. And then perform a search to find podcasts on that topic. And here's how you search. There is, when I said Listen Notes a few minutes ago, Listen Notes is a search engine specifically for podcasts, podcast series, podcast episodes. That's what Listen Notes does. So figure out your topic and then go to Listen Notes. You can just Google Listen Notes, LISTENNOTES, 2 words, Listen Notes. And you will see that it is when you click on it, when you Google it, you will see that it is a search engine. There's a search box there. You type in your topic and it takes you to different podcasts that have that word or that are about that topic. So I did the self-care challenge and I had mentioned Bundyville a minute ago when I talked about podcasts that I liked. So when I was searching for podcasts, I discovered that there is a second season of Bundyville, and I did not know that. So I will be trying to figure out how to listen to those episodes of that second season of Bundyville. I also found another podcast that I think I'm going to want to listen to that I discovered through Listen Notes search, and it's called the Southbound Podcast. I think, if I remember correctly, it's about Southern literature, Southern fiction, Southern culture. So I'm going to try that, the Southbound Podcast. So here is and again, all these things that I'm saying to you, I don't endorse every single aspect of what I'm talking about with you today. I'm just saying there are some parts of it that I found enjoyable or helpful. Again, take what you like, leave the rest. So here's your quote for the day. Actually, we have 2. When I want to research new ideas of topics that spark my interest, I go to the Curiosity Hour list. If you do not plan time on your calendar for this type of blank space, I guarantee you will never do it. So let me talk about that a little bit. This is a book The author is Katie Rasul, and the book was called Hidden Brilliance, a high-achieving introvert's guide to self-discovery, leadership, and playing big. So Katie Rasul, Rasoul, and the book was called Hidden Brilliance. Then there's a subtitle. But she talks about kind of how to continue her development, and she makes what she calls a curiosity hour list. So you can make a curiosity hour list. You can just make it a practice to keep a running list of things that interest you, ideas that interest you, topics that interest you. And then you plan time on your calendar to explore those topics. So I'm going to read this quote to you one more time. And podcasts, you could definitely search for podcasts on these topics on your curiosity hour list. So she says, when I want to research new ideas of topics that spark my interest, I go to the curiosity hour list. If you do not plan time on your calendar for this type of blank space, I guarantee you will never do it. Here's another quote, and this is about listening, since we're talking about podcasts and listening. It is the province of knowledge to speak, and it is the privilege of wisdom to listen. It is the province of knowledge to speak. It is the privilege of wisdom to listen. And that was Oliver Wendell Holmes. And I found that quote in a book by Eva Ford called How Not to Practice Social Work. I do not have a song for you today, but I have 2 videos for you. So the first one is sort of funny, and you guys may have seen this, but it's this little boy, and he is talking with his mom, and obviously he's in trouble. He and maybe a cousin are in trouble, and she's trying to talk to him. She's trying to explain the problem to him, and he cannot let her talk. And so I don't know what the video is called, but I think I'm trying to even remember what the little boy's name was. But anyway, the mother's name is Linda, because he calls her Linda, and he keeps saying, Linda, Linda, listen, listen. So it's very adorable. And at some point he says something about getting papaws on his bottom. So very obviously he is headed toward a spanking. And I can just tell you right now, I would have definitely gotten some papaws on my bottom if I would have ever called my mother by her first name. But it's very amusing. So I will link that video to you. The second video is, we talked earlier about This American Life. The host of This American Life, his name is Ira Glass. And again, This American Life is one of the most famous-est podcasts out there. And so the video is very short, and it's a video about how to listen to a podcast. And the host, one of the people in the conversation is Ira Glass from This American Life, and he has a friend on the video with him, and her name is Mary, and she is an elderly lady. And one of the things that I like about this video is Ira Glass is probably, I don't know, in his late 40s, 50s, maybe something like that. And I think Mary is maybe in her 80s, 85, I think. And what I like about it, this is not related to podcasts really necessarily, but he doesn't treat her like, oh, like that idea of like, oh, elderly people are so cute. He doesn't treat her like that, and I like that. He treats her, she is, I think, a friend of his, and he treats her that way. And I really liked that vibe in the video. But anyway, Mary listens to podcasts, and she is going to walk you through how you can find podcasts that you will enjoy. So again, if you find these videos helpful, please subscribe on YouTube. I am approaching the end of my commitment to make a video about self-care every day of the school closures due to COVID-19. I'm trying to figure out if there is more that I'm going to do after the end of next week, which is the end of my commitment. But I need to know that people are interested in me continuing to deliver this content. So if you find this helpful or interesting, please subscribe on YouTube. And if all hearts and minds are clear, I will see you back here tomorrow for another self-care staffing.